This video is about a rifle made by firearms. You may or may not have heard of it. It's called the Iris model. It has one feature which I'll tell you about, which I think is absolutely exceptional, and overall it's one of my favorite, probably my favorite, of the various takedown bolt actions that have come out in the past, let's say 10 years or so. But let's take a quick look at the rifle. So I've kind of arranged it in such a way that I can take it apart easily, but disassembly amounts to 2 Allen screws, which they provide you with this little assembly with, and it's all very simple. The bolt lift is shallow, you can see here. I have it. I was going to show you how the bolt works, so I had it decocked, which meant I couldn't open the bolt. But there's the bolt lift. Very shallow, very easy. It comes with a set of, excellent scope mounts. I should correct myself. Maybe it doesn't, but if you buy this kit, which is not easy to locate, but I think they're around, excellent scope mounts. And getting back to the bolt, so the bolt lift is very shallow, and everything's easy on it, but here's that safety feature. It's tough for me to show you everything at one time, but if you push in the back of the bolt, let's say the shroud or whatever you want to call it, now the rifle's completely uncocked, the striker is decocked. This is a common feature you've seen on the Blaser R8, on others, that they try to accomplish that. In fact, some of the people who write me from Germany and Austria say that the law is now that it must be decocked. Our system tends to be the rifle is cocked, and then the safety prevents the trigger from firing the gun. Whether it blocks the sear or the trigger, there are all kinds of ways of designing a safety from an engineering point of view. This is definitely the most effective, along with the Blaser, so it's not cocked, and then you decide you want to do something, so you push it forward. And there is a lot of force there because you are cocking the rifle. Anyway, as you can see, they didn't scrimp on the wood. I'm not sure what grade this is. I think it's a grade 5. I don't shoot this rifle enough. In fact, I've only shot it once. Just with the channel and Patreon and my work, I just don't get out as I'd like to, which is why I'm constantly hoping to get to the range and not quite making it. But anyway, it's all good. So that's the bolt, the stock, and yeah, this is all leading up to my favorite part of this rifle. But before I get into that, firearms is an Italian company, and as I told you before, in my, let's say, career as a collector, along with a lot of my friends, we try to have firearms from different countries, or from each country that makes firearms. And I had a fellow not long ago, I was chatting with him about guns, and he has very strong opinions, which can be a good thing. And he said, Italy just makes junk. He was talking about the Carcano and this and that. Naturally I didn't say anything. I usually don't when people have very strong opinions, but I listened carefully to his knowledge and reasoning and just left it at that. But that made me think about Italian guns and how I've neglected them on the channel. Italy is a fabulous maker of firearms, and I just punched in before filming, just for your information. I'll read off, and you can do this on Google, some of the makers from Italy: Fabri, Marocchi, Euroarms International, Cosmi. We've looked at the Cosmi, probably the most extraordinary semi-auto shotgun ever. Citadel, Breda. We're going to have a video on Breda. Nobody talks about Breda shotguns. One of the best. I shot them for years when I could still get to the range. Beretta, the oldest gun maker in the world. Of course, Benelli, but I think Beretta owns Benelli now. Victrix, Uberti for all the reproduction. Sabati, S-I-A-C-E, I don't know. Rizzini, fantastic name. Rodolfo Army, unbelievable guns. Perugini and Vizzini. I got a lot of Enis in there, but anyway, fantastic. And I'll stop with the one that we looked at, the Arsenal bolt action. What an unbelievable rifle. And all of them beautifully priced, brilliant engineering, incredible engraving, and I haven't been hired by Italy to make this speech. But getting back to the Iris, I'm not sure why they call it Iris, but it's a cool name. I should probably flip it around so you can see it. So we had the bolt, we've got this in, that means I can open the bolt. It's got an excellent bolt release. I have to be careful how I do the things here, just because of, anyway, forearm. So we undo these two bolts, and the forearm pops off. Now, you'll see there's no hanger on the barrel. There's no weirdness in the forearm to hold this onto the action. The barrel effectively is free floating. There's nothing infringing on it, not a mechanical device. They accomplished that by just super engineering on this pin and these bolts. This is secured by a geometry of parts, like a super intelligent design. The barrels, so this is, I think, the 308. Anyway, it came with two, and it just lifts out of the action. Again, just great, not just engineering, but machining and fitting, because the bolt locks into those three mortises. And as I've told you before, a lot of modern rifles, the receiver becomes just a part that keeps all of the other parts in proper alignment. It doesn't have to have any strength. Now, depending on who you believe, this is either a titanium receiver or a titanium finish. I wouldn't be inclined to think it's titanium finish and that it's maybe some kind of aluminum, which is totally fine. It makes the rifle very light. To remove the bolt, you simply push this button and the bolt comes out. And this weighs, I don't know, minimal. It's almost so light that I was going to take off this butt plate or recoil pad. I thought maybe it's hollowed out. I don't think so anymore, just by the sound of it. But I think that this material is so light, and of course it's been, let's say, excavated. And the magazine, so this is 308, and you can see there's a filler here because the 308 is short, but if it was a, say, 270, that wouldn't be there. And then the other barrel is 223, and the 223 has an even bigger filler. This is not revolutionary or anything. The T3, Tikka, lots of rifles use that system. But it's very good, and the magazines are solid, and they're steel, well, at least partly steel. I'm not sure whether under here is steel. I have a hunch that the whole magazine is steel, and then there's a plastic base on this. These are steel. The sight bases are polymers. Anyway, I have no complaints about this rifle at all. I was just checking to see whether it has a set trigger. Sometimes I forget things. Altogether, out of 10, I would give the Iris a 9 out of 10, and I don't even know why I'm taking away a mark. They thought of everything. The case is magnificent, and you even get this little case. I'll set it here, and so you would think maybe that's earplugs or something. No, it's for the sling swivels, which are flush mounted, so they don't interfere. I should show you the other side of the buttstock. So, I mean, I'm talking about this rifle in glowing terms, and I'm not sure exactly where you get one, but phenomenal piece of engineering. And there was something else I was going to mention to you. I'll just set this down. By the way, whenever I make contact with something, I usually get 10 or 15 letters saying that I'm like irresponsible and things like this, but there's no damage. These guns, they can take slight impacts, and most of the surfaces that I have here are wood, so I just say it's okay. They're not being like trashed or something during filming. What was I leading up to? Oh yes, on the barrel, this was interesting to me. It says made in Germany by Zoll. So I mean, the German manufacturers make excellent barrels, as most people know. A lot of you write me about accuracy. As you know, with a hunting rifle, I'm more interested in hunting accuracy than target accuracy. I think what's happened over maybe the past 50 years is kind of there's been a shifting where people expect hunting rifles to be target rifles. And that's a fine thing, because we do go to the range and it's nice to see small groups. Anyway, I guess it was the 223 barrel I was using, and I got well under an inch. It was one of those ones again where I thought it was an excellent group. I looked through that scope that I bought from Europe. I'm not sure if I showed it to you on the channel or on Patreon, but these spotting scopes are getting so expensive. So I just ordered an old scope. I can't remember the name, from Germany. It was cheap, like $200 or something. And anyway, that's what I use at the range so that I can see the holes. It's at least a 20 power scope. Anyway, so fantastic groups, no issues with accuracy that I can imagine, because they've dealt with everything. The quality of the barrels is paramount. I don't think they could find a better barrel manufacturer. And this is engineered to perfection, just an ideal combination of features. Now, last thing is, I used to, you know, when you first start this whole adventure with guns, you think you know stuff, but you don't really know much. And so I ordered a custom gun, a Mauser, because I liked Mausers, and I still do. And I wanted switch barrels. So what did the guy make? I think it was a 243, and the other barrel was 30-06. Sort of cartridges that anybody would be aware of. And I said it would be nice if I could have something like a 222 for the second barrel. And he said, well, you can't do that because the bolt face has to be different for the 222. So of course I learned about that. Anyway, so that was a perfect rifle, but you had to do all this stuff and similar calibers. Then the blazer system, you have to take the bolt head off, which is no big deal. They've actually done a good job on especially the R8. You flip a little lever and manipulate parts, and if you have a case, and I'm mainly speaking to those of you that own these rifles where you have different barrels, you're switching little parts, and if you did this in the snow and anything fell, I mean, it works in ideal circumstances, and maybe you're handier than I am in the field, which is a good thing. But the ultimate solution is what this company came up with, and which is what I wanted in the first place. If you think about the engineering for these guns that have all these little parts and switching bolt heads and locking them in, they just give you two bolts. And I think that's what makes sense to me. So you can look at the bolt face. You'll see one is a 308. I can't see from my angle. One is 308, one is 223, and you simply put another bolt in. I actually think this is the most sensible solution. So you switch to barrel, the bolt is effortless, and you can have it in your backpack. But I mean, how many people do that kind of on the fly? But maybe you do, you know, all kinds of things going on in the field. Anyhow, that was the kind of thing that I most liked about this system, and it's not that hard to provide the customer, especially when you're buying a gun that's out of the ordinary, like any takedown gun. Just give them another bolt, and then you don't have to fiddle around with all these little pieces. Anyway, maybe I'm making it like a mountain out of a molehill. And probably that covers it. You know, there are always things I think of telling you after we finish shooting. But this one is a definite buy. I think they're undervalued in the market, like dramatically undervalued, especially compared with the Blaser R8. And you can Google FabArm. They've been around forever. It's just that, again, the details, who's the distributor and all that stuff, I don't know. I kind of have a special circumstance, which I appreciate, because guns come to me in many ways. But that's about it. Yeah, we've got all kinds of cool things for you in the future. If you can help the channel in any way, as you know, this is not a money-making business. A labor of love, which fair enough. But yeah, any help you can provide is much appreciated. Patreon is sitting and waiting with all kinds of interesting stuff. I do my best there with the time and resources I have. And I think that's about it. So, take care. We'll see you on the next video.